All right, guys, thank you for joining us today. As you can see here, you have Dale and Brian Duff. They are the survival preppers. And anyway, these two guys I came across because I think it was Dale who reached out to me. Got a looking at his channel and thought it's a good channel. Again, very informative. Two brains are always better than one, right? So that goes a long way for channels like these. Anyway, Dale and Brian, do me a favor and introduce yourself to the club.
You want me to go or you want to go, Brian?
Go ahead, man.
All right. Well, it's kind of a weird story. Brian and I've been doing this for over a decade. I've got my YouTube channel and website, the survivalistprepper.net. And then Brian's got his Mind for Survival website, and I'll let him explain that. But I've been doing this for a long time, doing a lot of basic prepping stuff. I've got courses over at the Bug Out location, just the basic stuff. My channel over on Survivalist Prepper is rated PG, basically. And this one that Brian and I decided to create is way more off the cuff. It's kind of like your show is a lot. And it's just us talking about stuff that's on our mind, kind of like you were talking about last week with people just being real and just be who they are. That's what we decided to do over at the Survival Preppers. And some people agree with some of the stuff we have to say, some people won't, but it's how we feel about stuff. So it's been a lot of fun. We've only been doing it for a couple years now, but it's been a lot of fun. And it's not that basic stuff, but it is that stuff that current events and stuff that concern us and our ability to prepare and all that stuff. So I'll let Brian explain what Mind for Survival is.
Yeah, I got into it. I was overseas. I was in Baghdad, and I heard Dale's podcast going back, I don't know, 15 years ago now, something like that, 13 years ago. And I said, wow, I just started listening to podcasts. And so then when I came home from overseas, I started a podcast, Mind for Survival. And I've been messing around with that ever since. And then I think it was middle of 2020 and all the craziness was going on with COVID. And Dale and I would get on the phone and we talk once a week, twice a week, and bitch about everything that was going on. I said, we need to start doing a YouTube channel. I was watching you do your channel, and it was great because New York was like front and center in all the COVID craziness with the convalescent home stuff and the politics. And so it was great watching you walk the streets and come back with like real time. You're like the canary in the coal mine in a lot of that. And that's kind of where we started going that with the YouTube channel after that.
Well, very good. Again, guys, these two gentlemen, if you will, have level heads, and I do enjoy a few of their videos. Like I said, I just started watching them, but I get the sense, not even to get the sense, that they know what the fuck they're talking about. So that's good. And because there's so many channels out there that don't know what they're talking about, it's time for, I'm going to say YouTube or the prepper community on YouTube to make room for more channels like these. So again, these guys are who I would absolutely follow, especially if you're new to the game. I think a channel like mine, I don't think lends to beginners anymore, even though I will be putting up some beginner videos. But if you're looking for a lot of beginner kind of, not even beginner kind of ideology, but being that they're new to YouTube, they can absolutely help you with a lot of the basics, even though these guys are seasoned. They've been doing it for a long ass time. Now, guys, let's get to the meat of the conversation. What do you guys think, with all of this craziness going on, what do you think the societal breakdown will look like?
You want to take this, Brian, or you want me to? Because there's 100 different directions this shit could go. So,
well, I think the one thing though, when people are thinking about this breakdown, that we're, are we going to break all the way apart? I don't know, but we're heading down the path towards it. So you have to think like, we're farther down the path than we were 2 years ago. And the one thing I think that a whole pandemic and all the response to it and everything showed was it's not the meteor that's flying in here and just everything changes overnight. It's like, not like we're watching the movie Greenland. It's this slow boiling, percolating, real slow burn towards whatever end we're heading towards. And so I think the one thing is people should think that I don't think it's going to just jump up and bite us. I think we may already be in it, and that it's going to keep slowly bubbling and getting more and more intense. You know, you have the administration today is trying to change the definition of a recession.
Yeah.
In order, so that way they say, no, we're not in a recession. It's like, this is really where we're at. We're really at double speak right now. So, you know, I think like I said, I think we're down that path, and I don't think it's going to happen and be the way we all thought it would maybe 3 years ago.
I think the curtain got the curtain got pulled back a little bit with COVID, and you saw what some of these countries, these quote unquote democratic countries, were willing to do. I think the curtain got pulled back here in the United States before Trump got elected. I think the fact that he was that people were so pissed off about things, I think that was the curtain being pulled back. And then the government just basically ignoring all that stuff and going about business and just going after him. And then you've got the pandemic, and you saw that stuff all over the world happen with all the lockdowns and with the just, you know, when times are good, you know, life is great in all of these countries, including here. When it's not good, you know, that's when you start seeing the true colors. And I think that's what we're starting to see now. And I think a lot of people, not just here in the United States, but globally, are, you know, kind of waking up to that. And I hope that it continues that direction, because if it doesn't continue that direction, the other direction is us you know, you got the World Economic Forum, the Davos elites, all those people. That direction is where we're headed if people don't stop this freaking freight train where it's going.
Yeah, you know what? And I agree with both of you. Actually, it was one thing when we were all focused on, all right, the apocalypse is coming, or at least the end of the way we live is coming. I mean, I don't think that humanity is doomed, but I definitely think humanity is in for a wild and rude awakening. But for those of us who are going to opt out of the next society, whatever that society is, because right now we all knew about the World Economic Forum, right? So we knew that this was coming, and we had to combat this or opt out of this society, if you will. But now Russia, China, and the rest of them have their own little society that they're building, and they want to take over the world. And Putin, if I'm not mistaken, said it 3 days ago, actively said that he wants his own new world order. He's something to that effect. I'm paraphrasing, but still. So now it's the WEF, and now it's Russia and China. I'm like, and neither of them are the ideal choice. The United States looks like they want their own, I guess, new world order in some sort of way, because they're trying to become a little more dependent on themselves with that central banking digital system that they're about to release. And I was reading that executive order that this guy wanted me to read. The executive order again is 14067. I'm gonna drop the link in the chat right now. It is a very, very interesting read, and I don't like where any of it's going. Now, there's nothing in it about taking guns away or COVID vaccinations, but I definitely see them going that route and making sure that you either abide by their rules or you're out of the system altogether.
Yeah. I see the United States, unfortunately. I mean, it's a good thing that we're a republic and not a democracy. Like, you know, a lot of people think like Democrats just will not say republic. But I think it's a good thing we are, because it seems like we're headed towards that direction, that trying to be like Europe type stuff, trying to do all the same things. And there's a reason we're the big boy on the block. There's a reason why we are the greatest country in the world. And for us to try to go, there's a reason we left England, you know, fought against them. Now we're trying to go back to that same type of stuff. It's concerning to me. And you mentioned on top of that, you do have the BRICS stuff, BRICS, I think is what it is, with China, right, Russia, I think South America, Brazil, something like that, trying to get, you know, control a new world currency, basically trying to do their own thing. So you've got things shaping up that, you know, could turn out to be pretty damn bad.
Yeah, I think, you know, if we look at it, that we have an oligarchy going on, right? You have a ruling class, or the rulers, the politicians, and
right,
and the corporate side all merged up there. I mean, Nancy Pelosi's husband's is just raking it in on another insider stock deal out in California, from out there. And so if you look back, when you mentioned going back to we left England, well, at the same time, the French had their revolution in 1789, and it was all over populism. It was all over an aristocracy that was looking down on the people and oppressing them.
Right.
Right now with all the inflation we have going on, inflation is a tax of the government, either intentionally or by their neglect, by their ineptitude. Regardless, it's still a tax on us. So as we move down this, I see more and more people coalescing in the middle, and it's more and more of a populist movement, and it's happening around the world. You just saw what happened in Sri Lanka, yeah. Right? And other places are bubbling up. You saw the strike in the farmer strike in the Netherlands, right? So more and more the people are suffering around the world and struggling, and you see them rising up. So I think we can see a really unstable world moving forward for a while, at best.
Yeah. Yes. You know what? They had to have calculated this, right? I mean, I'm not.
I think so.
Right. I'm not a very smart man, but I know that if the World Economic Forum has been planning something like this for a long time, and I know that they went under another organization name early, probably like 20, 30 years ago. They were under another organizational name. They weren't the World Economic Forum. Anyway, they had to have calculated people pushing back. I mean, the Chinese, for Christ's sake, they're going through this whole banking issue right now in a couple of provinces in China. And I was just listening to this whole thing on it. I'm like, even they are, and they're docile. I mean, the people are anyway. They're very docile people. And even they were like, they had enough of their money being frozen because it was under maintenance servicing, the websites were, so they couldn't access their money. And even they were like, yo, we're not that stupid. And they started going after the banks, and the Chinese sent in their guards, if you will, but they were in plain clothes. So no one really knows if it was the guards or not. But if you have the Chinese, Sri Lanka, you had, I think Italy did something recently. You had people standing up because of the arm ticket and its bullshit around the world. You had people who didn't want this new digital ID system that's coming out. People are even starting to get wind of the central banking digital system around the world. Different countries are doing different things. And they're starting to wake up and bitch and moan about it. So they had to have calculated this. So if they did, what's their pushback? How are they going to respond to all of us all around the world rising up the way we are?
Yeah, that's a good point, because the World Economic Forum's got their blueprint laid out, right? I mean, 150 different steps, how to harness the fourth industrial revolution, how to control everything, basically, how to make sure they don't lose power when all of these changes come down the pike. But what they don't put on there is, and I think you're absolutely right, that they had to have foreseen that people are not going to go quietly. This green new energy push and all that stuff, the farmers in the Netherlands and all around the world revolting and standing up. They had to have foreseen this type of stuff. So maybe behind the scenes, the Davos elites and all that crap have these plans in place of when this does happen, this is what needs to be done. We've seen out here January 6th how they came back with force and shut people down. In Sri Lanka, they put somebody in place. It's almost like they used that uprising in Sri Lanka to gain more power and more control. So something like that, could be part of their little plan. But I guarantee you, like you said, I guarantee they've foreseen this type of situation happening all over the world. If they didn't, then they're completely naive, and we know that's not the truth. Can't be.
No, not at all. I think Brian's frozen.
I think I'm back now. Was I frozen for a little bit?
You still are frozen? We can hear you.
Oh, okay. Starlink, man.
Yeah. I mean, listen, as long as they can hear you, so it's fine. Now, that's what I was going to ask. The food situation. Let's move on to that because, again, a part of the societal breakdown is controlling the food. And clearly, we're seeing something of it. Now, I don't think it's as fast as I thought it was going to be. I sincerely thought they were going to lock the food down like this time this year and start some kind of food shortage. But I'm starting to see in a lot of places and starting to hear from a lot of people that food is coming back onto the shelves. So, what are your predictions with this whole food shortage or starvation? Because that's the only way you can get us under control. Money and food. You control those two things completely, we're screwed.
Again, I go back to this type of situation is calculated, because I was thinking the same thing. It's like, this could get really bad. I don't think, I think a lot of this stuff is intentional, but I don't think they planned on Putin pulling his shit that he was doing, and it put a monkey wrench in their whole plans. Because I think they don't want to do something that's going to, upset the apple cart so much that Americans start to stand up and fight back, because they got us pretty docile right now. But I think my hope anyway is that as Americans, that we, most people are just going to stand by and do whatever the government says. But there's enough of us that American mentality of, okay, this is enough shit. We're not taking it anymore. I think they know that. So I think there is, I think they know what they can get away with, and or they're hoping they do anyway, and what they can't. So as far as the food shortages, I think there is this. It seems like there's this mentality of trying to normalize, eating the insects and stuff like that, and normalize the fact that we have to, the sustainability where the farming and the cows farting and all that bullshit. Normalize the fact that things are going to have to change, and I think we're kind of seeing that come through. I don't know. I don't know about. I've heard that Ukraine is able to export some grains now, which is going to help out more of the world rather than us. But yeah, and that's a good point, Wolfgang. I think they are testing us. I think that it absolutely is how much can we get away with? I think Brian was mentioning that a while back about the Ministry of Truth shit that they were doing. They put that together just to see how much we would put up with, the misinformation campaign and all that stuff. So it is, I think it's, prodding and seeing what they can do and seeing what they can get away with, because they want to maintain power. They don't want to go anywhere. At least, Biden doesn't know what the hell he's doing, but the people that are controlling him don't want to go anywhere.
I was kind of surprised when Russia and Ukraine agreed to this whole let Ukraine export wheat deal. Because Russia's still coming out and saying, hey, we want Zelensky out. They're still coming out, and nothing's slowing down. They just shelled a town around Odessa. So it kind of what you said, like where you said, hey, I'm hearing that the food's showing back up. I was predicting fall and winter might be real hard. And so all of a sudden you see food showing up, and everybody was predicting that. Did we all get it wrong, or did they change something? And it's so like in the last day or two, all of a sudden it's like, wow, this seems a little bit different.
Right. It's almost as if it's a reaction to, all right, maybe people are catching on too quickly. Let's dial it back and slow it down and see where it goes by the end of the year. I mean, it could be that, or it could be, and I hate to admit to this, we're just a little paranoid. I always entertain the negative thoughts, meaning, maybe I'm overshooting my thinking. Maybe I'm a little paranoid. Maybe it is, but the paranoia is still a good thing as long as you don't start hunkering down and wearing aluminum foil helmets. I think it's fine to be a little paranoid. But the other thing, when we were talking about information, is I think they did this on purpose. They flooded society with different information and contradicting information and coming out and saying it's this, but then 2 weeks later, no, it's that. And so now people are so undecided on whether or not to believe mainstream media or any media source for that matter. I think it was done on purpose, because if you can 86 media, whether it's left or right, and then have one source tell you that this is what it is, and people listen to it like people are doing now with this smallpox shit. The city is getting nervous over the smallpox, and I'm like, yo, but it's not. I mean, unless you're fucking, running around, swinging around dildos and shit, you should be safe. You should be okay. But if you're not any part of that society, they're there are ways to combat that, but they're making it sound like, man, we're up to 1,000. My wife just told me about an hour ago, we're up to 1,000 cases here in the city, and I'm like,
Wow.
all right, when it hits 1 million, then we get concerned, and then still, I mean, listen, it doesn't matter if it gets up to 2 million. I'm never going to be nervous about something that I'm not going to contract, because I'm not walking around licking fucking poles and armbands and shit like that. I'm not running around in that community, so I'm not worried about it, right?
It's
But they
it's the
are,
licking the poles that'll get you
yeah,
with the
that'll definitely
monkeypox.
that'll probably kill you, but because all the shit that's on it. But I just think that they're starting to beat that drum again to get people nervous, right? And so people are going to listen to these government officials and these doctors, especially here in New York, and they're just, they started talking about putting a mask back on. A month ago, I was on the train. There might have been 3 people on with a mask. They started beating the mask drum again. I've been on the train the last couple of weeks going downtown, and it's like half the train has mask back on again. I'm like, yo, is it that easy? You just tell these people do this and they do that, and they do this and they do that. I'm like, it's insane how these people are controlled, and I think that's what they're trying to do with this mixed information, is control people with what they think is the truth, but in fact, it's all bullshit.
Yeah.
Everybody's getting trained. And it's a very good point. Everybody's getting trained to accept this stuff, where they're, God now is the government, and whatever the government says, you need to go along with that, and don't believe any of this. Don't believe any of that. Only believe it. I saw a video of the prime minister, the chick down in New Zealand, talking, and she point blank said, if you don't get the information from us, it's not true. And when they start saying shit like that, that's when you should be real concerned. But I think it's true. I mean, we're getting trained to accept this, that this is the normal, that this is what we're supposed to do. This is normal life. You talked about how we're how maybe you got it wrong or a little bit. I think as preppers, that we always run that risk, because we're always looking at things from a forward perspective. So we always run that risk. I will say, though, we've been right a whole lot more than we've been wrong in the last couple of years, though. So
yeah,
I
think
a lot of different things.
It's that whole deal when they say conspiracy theorists. I like it was Oliver Stone when he was talking about one of his JFK assassination movie. He's like, no, we're truth seekers. Like, we want, we're trying to find the truth, because, like you said, Jason, you're like, hey, you need to question yourself, right? It's so there's so much crazy information out there today, where it's so easy to go, you're wrong, because it feels so crazy that it's real easy to get in the mode of, no, they're wrong every time. But when you're talking about like levels of preparedness that, we're talking about society maybe falling and making decisions on it, you have to ask yourself, what if I'm wrong? What if I'm not completely right? Maybe 90% right, 80% right. Try to figure out where you have room for an improvement in there. Because, everything you see before you is kabuki theater now,
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the problem, and I think all of us are looking at everything closely. At least now we're looking at things closely and a little more objective. I don't think we're just like, taking the first thing we see and go, oh my God, did you see that? They got super soldiers in Russia. This shit is real, so people are diving into it. They're reading it a little more, then you have, like someone just said in the chat about New York Times talking about cannibalism, right? We're talking about food shortage. And now people are sitting, and here's a problem with that article. Again, with information. You leak this out, you put this little article out there, which is an introductory article to cannibalism and making it okay. Now, I read the article today. I don't know how I got around that whole New York Times, whenever you read an article, you got to pay for it. But if you go to Twitter and you type in New York Times cannibal, that article will pop up. You can get it through there. So anyway, I'm reading this article, and they're talking about that it's time for us to confront and be open to cannibalism. Now, again, I'm paraphrasing. They put it in another way, but they were talking about books and movies, and how books and movies now are talking more about cannibalism. Yellow Jacket, which is on Showtime, which I was looking to watch. Fresh, which is on Hulu. And then there's a book called A Certain Hunger. A Certain Hunger. Right. I don't know who the author is. And all of these books and movies and TV shows are confronting cannibalism. The Times article tried to make it seem like it's time for us to talk about it and deal with it. But I'm like, deal with what? I'm like, cannibalism came out of people starving in a lot, if not all cases. I can't speak for a lot of the tribes in Africa and in Central South America that were cannibals, but I know cannibalism came out of lack of food being available for people to eat. So if you're trying to condition us for cannibalism, are you trying to make it okay when we hit that point where there's no food in our homes, right? Or this synthetic meat crap that they're doing with growing human meat in a petri dish or whatever the hell it is, trying to get us to eat that is cannibal. So is that why they're trying to make it okay? I don't know. What do you guys think?
Don't come after us. Go eat your neighbor, basically. I think it's all part of that conditioning. It's weird. I mean, maybe this is a little bit extreme. I don't know, but I feel the same way about it. It's like, why? Why are you? I know it's clickbait. I know it's all that bullshit, but why are you trying to condition people or have this conversation in the first place? I know they're just TV shows and all that, but it just seems odd that we're talking about food shortages. We see all this stuff about kind of normalizing eating insects and all that. I saw something the other day about how somebody makes flour out of crickets, and then with that flour, you can make pastries and stuff like that taste good, right? So they're trying to normalize all this stuff, and meanwhile, they're trying to demonize farmers, and we've got the droughts and all that stuff coming on. So, yeah, it's just it. I mean, I don't think they'd ever come out and say that, hey, you know what, you might have to eat your neighbor someday. But at the same time, you plant that freaking seed in your head, in these people's heads, and when it does come down to not being able to feed your family and all that, I mean, it wouldn't. With some people in this country, it would not surprise me one bit to see them running around eating people and zombieing it up and all that bullshit.
Maybe they'll start putting up some statues to the Donner Party.
Yeah,
Maybe.
have a meat brand called Donner Meats or something like that. You know,
Yeah.
it's like, I mean, you think about it, like we've always talked forever, like how cannibalism's horrible. And then now it's like here we go. We started down the insect things and they just keep, it's that turn up the water on the frog, and now we're at the point where and I look at him like, were you trying to be funny? But I don't think so.
Yeah. It's conditioning. It's all conditioning, I think.
No, and it absolutely is, because again, it's the introduction of things. I mean, let's see, where are we now in society? I mean, we're in the United States. It's a shit show, but they introduced so many things a few years ago, right? And I remember, and this is going back 10 years, when the LGBT community was pushing and yelling and screaming about their rights, this, that, and third. I'm like, listen, they got their rights, but they're going to keep pushing, and we're going to end up somewhere people are not going to like. And I remember saying this, and I was called homophobic and a whole nine yards. Like, all right, whatever, I'll be homophobic. Fuck you and fuck them, right? And now look where we are. Today, if your kid mentions anything about wanting to be the opposite sex, you have to do so, or a court will take your kid away from you, because that is child abuse if you don't let them explore their gender or sexualities. I'm like, how the fuck did we get here? And now they're making something called MAPS, minor attracted people, or minor attracted people. That's people who are attracted to minors, right? And it's called MAPS. And here we are making that okay. But yet, when I told people, you open up Pandora's box, you are not going to like what the fuck comes out of it in regards to all of this bullshit. People said, you're out of your mind. That's too far. You lost your shit. And I'm like, really? So now the same people that I've had this argument with, including my wife, and she's like, you are right. It's like, I know it's fucking right. I'm like, I'm not right all the time, but I know when I'm right. And so now, with that, the fact that everything that is good is now bad and everything bad is now good, they're introducing fucking cannibalism. I mean, like, and then, the other thing that they're introducing, Satanism, the whole Satan thing, building a statue to him, and, Satan's our father. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? So now they're farmer son prepping. Bestiality is next. There's already a society here in the United States that want to marry their pets or some shit like that. They actually started in Germany and they spread like a disease, and now they're here in the United States. Why does everything sexually bad start in Germany, right? The whole fucking, pissing and shitting on each other, Germany, right? It's like, I want to bang my dog, Germany. So it's everything bad is now good, and people are embracing all of it. And I'm wondering if we're all being tricked into this, or rather, those people are being tricked into it. I mean, I don't know where to go with that.
I think some people are so into trying to be on the cutting edge of being woke, or like to some new, this is the cool way of thinking now.
Right.
That they're just out trying to outdo one another. We mentioned it earlier, Tim Pool over at on his YouTube channel when he got locked out of Twitter. It was over calling out grooming. He was calling out grooming over on Twitter.
Right.
And that's what they locked him out for. And it's like, dude, he was literally calling out people about pedophilia and making a point. And so his whole point now is look at how Twitter will like let you make, in a way, supports pedophilia. And so it's, I think we're just going down to how much more bonkers can people get. Like, let's try to outdo one another with stupid fucking ideas.
Yeah. And you're right. It never ends with this crap. It's always something, now that we got this, we need to get this. That's what my concern is with all this gun control crap, because the whole United States is going to turn into like New York and California. If we're not, I think it's going to inevitably at some point or another. It's if we continue down this road, but it's the same type of crap. You would like to think that pedophilia is just evil, wrong, and should be punished to the fullest extent of the law. Right. But we are getting into that type of society. And I think that's when you start talking about the decay of society, it's shit like that goes on and it gets normalized. And the good guys are the bad guys now. The bad guys are the good guys and all of that. And you get almost chastised for talking against it. I think that's, this dangerous, slippery slope that we're headed down. And then there's a lot of people, I think it was Saul Alinsky, or maybe it was Marx or Lenin, the useful idiots. They're creating a bunch of useful idiots that will they're useful idiot army, basically, that will go along with these things and further those narratives. And then meanwhile, the people, like us, let somebody come after one of my kids, see how that works out for them. I don't care what Twitter or anybody has to say about that shit. But that's society. And it doesn't, with the internet and all that crap these days, it doesn't take, a majority of people. It just takes a bunch of really loud people talking a lot of shit. We make this a big issue.
We went from No Child Left Behind to everybody gets a participation trophy to let's celebrate you being a fucking idiot. Like you said, it's gone backwards. It's just been creeping, and everything's like just fantasy land. We look at stuff and it's like, oh no, that's not fucked up. That's that's that person just expressing their inner self and shit like that. And it's like, you can express your inner self, but when you're moving into where people are literally trying to justify why it's okay to be a predator on minors, like what the fuck kind of society are we going into here? Talk about the fall of Rome.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's funny. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, and I don't want to get all religious here, but I was watching Dennis Prager, a video he did talking about how this country was built on the Bible, right? And I'm not saying people need to go start reading the Bible. I'm not saying you go to church. I don't like organized religion, but I do believe in God. But this country was built on the fact that the morals that are in the Bible, all of that stuff. He was talking about guilty or innocent until proven guilty. It's something that came directly out of the Bible. And it's something that us Americans, we just believe in that, regardless whether you're religious or not. And It's those morals and that moral compass that's getting lost with each passing generation that's not passing those things down. That's getting lost, and it's leading people, instead of believing God, you're believing in government, or you're believing in your new purpose for being is green energy or climate change, stuff like that. So that leads all to this stuff that we're talking about with all this stuff, the loss of morals and just making shit up as you go. And the guilty until proven innocent mentality these days, that's 100% true.
Yeah, guilty. Exactly. That's where we are right now. It's funny. you mentioned Dennis Prager, and everybody's like, somebody just said, yeah, Dennis Prager is part of the cabal. And I'm like, that's the thing about information. People will always find issue with whoever the fuck is online. Like if the guy's giving out good information, not for nothing, but the whole Prager I like it because they come out with facts and they always back it up with their shit when they do. But you're always going to have one person that hates somebody for whatever reason it is. And I get it. We all need to think that some people are bad and when they're actually good, and some people are good when they're actually fucking raging assholes. But speaking to this whole maps bullshit that we were just talking about, John Jay College, at the college I used to go to, they're teaching that. And this I thought it was a dude, but it's a chick that's pushing this. What you call? I'm like, so what's stopping you? Here's the thing: if this professor, if you will, would have went to college spreading this shit, not even fucking 10 years ago, he would have got the fucking shit kicked out of her in the hallway or in a fucking teacher's lounge, whatever the hell it is. But these kids today are just attending the classroom and trying to find out more about it. Now, granted, I try to read about this map shit, and I got maybe one paragraph in, and I'm like, nope, you can't rationalize this. I read everything, and I try to give things a chance. So I wasn't giving this a chance, but I was trying to see what their explanation was going to be. And as soon as I got one paragraph in, I'm like, no, you can't defend this and then come up with things like, well, some people can't help it. Well, then maybe they should fucking jump off a bridge. I don't know. Slit their wrist a long way. Who knows? But to sit there and rationalize this behavior, they're doing with pedophilia as they're doing with cannibalism now. They're trying to rationalize this behavior. They're trying to sit there and saying that it could be okay. Now, in the survival aspect, I think it's a moral thing, if you ask me. Would I do it in a survival aspect and eat somebody else? No. But would I frown upon somebody else if that was a survival? No, I wouldn't, But to do it just because it tastes good or because you're in the mood for fucking human ass, I don't know. I think that's a bad idea.
I'd frown off if they were eating me. For sure. But no, again, you hit it on the head with the normalization on everything, and it's just like you said, look at people's perspective and try to understand, because maybe there's something there that you say, oh, you know what, that little 5 or 10%, I can kind of see that. But when it comes to fucking little kids, I can't go anywhere down the path. As soon as, like you said, the first paragraph, when it's like, oh, this is about sex with little kids. No, there's no perspective there that makes that right. It's just doesn't. You're taking, you're preying upon people, and that's just fucking wrong.
Well, here, let me help it along a little bit. This is even better, because when they try to make it okay, what they don't do, and they were being slick, and I picked it up the first time I read the first article. They were being slick, and they mentioned nothing about having sex with kids, but they did talk about the fact that someone's attracted to a kid, and because they don't act on it, it should be okay. That's where they're starting with this. That's what the whole MAPS means: minor attracted people who are attracted to minors, and how it's okay for you to be attracted to minors. It is the same bullshit that they did with the I would say the LGBT movement, where they started with, it's our business, and what we do behind closed doors is our business. And then everybody was like, all right, fine, I could dig that. But then it spilled over into this. They are doing the same thing with MAPS by saying, well, you know what? It's all right. As long you can be attracted to somebody as long as you don't act on it. But I'm going to tell you right now, in less than 2 years, they're going to be like, well, if you act on it, as long as there's some kind of consent with the kid. Because now they're trying to do that bullshit with child consent with medications, with the, what is that? The hormone treatment. They're going down that path right now, saying that they're trying, in certain states, kids, I think as young as 13 or maybe 11, and I want to say Oregon or Washington, can get a hormonal treatment without the consent of their parents. Drugs, rather, not a drug, but drugs that are now coming out to diminish kids' eyesight over the period of time that they're taking this. So we knew nothing about these drugs, and now they're letting kids take it without the parental consent. When you start letting kids make decisions without parental consent, that's the fucking path it's going down, which is maps turned into, PDOs running around with kids and saying we're in love.
Yeah, everybody gets to have a choice, including the kid who isn't old enough to make a choice. When I was working for overseas, they had an agent that has gotten a lot of trouble because his daughter was on. I think he was up in New York. I think he was in New York City. His daughter was on the internet with a predator, and he caught her leaving the house to go meet this guy.
Right.
And she was trying to run by him. He ended up smacking her, get her back inside the house. He got in all kinds of trouble with that, and I
Really?
hey, a parent's got to do the parent. What is it? They're leaving to go meet with a child predator. And here this guy was like just in crazy amounts of trouble over this. And it's, I think we tend to look at like kids now. I don't know. We don't seem to we want to protect kids anymore. Just let them go.
I mean, clearly we don't. Look at the crap that they want to inject into them. Matter of fact, just look at the crap that's injected in the babies till they're about like 5, 6 years old. All these, vaccines that they want to put in them, right? Then they're saying now that the monkeypox shot is fine. So, a new arm ticket to put into fucking kids. They don't want to protect them on any front, it seems. And it seems like they want to diminish the kids and their ability to procreate now, because I'm looking at some of the drugs that they want to give kids for gender switching, if you will. It's stopping their reproductive organs, or rather it's destroying it, if you will, right? And then all the other bullshit that they're allowing these kids to do now and take, destroying their reproductive organs, especially girls. So it's leading me to believe that they want nothing to do with kids, apparently, because if you want to protect kids, the easy solution is stop introducing them to all this bullshit out there. But they don't want to do that.
Well, maybe this goes back to what you were talking about earlier with, is this all this crap intentional? And this, starts with the government taking over schools all the way back when that happened. You get them while they're young, you control them. Then you do all this stuff while they're kids, because they're not going to change our minds. So it's almost a lost cause at this point. But if you can start shaping society and doing this stuff now to where this stuff is just expected and it's natural, then it's that death by, or that frog in the pot of water, right? You turn it up slowly to bring it to a boil. You normalize some of this other bullshit, and then the next step, it doesn't seem that bad because we're already, this is already normal. It's okay for grown-ass men to look at little kids like that. But, and I say men because I'm sure that's majority of it, but and then what's the next step? Since that's been normalized, the next step is just another hurdle you got to cross. So,
well, and it's another stake in the ground for dividing the country. Like literally, there's you're a fucking freak side that we won't cross, that they're rallying, getting a flag to rally behind.
Right.
It's it's turning into this freak show of a side, and then the other side, and we're getting so deep, because we won't ever see eye to eye on that. You're never going to see eye to eye with a pedophile on why it's okay to fucking want to be with a kid.
Right.
So it's just more of that division that I think, again, we talked about the populist movement earlier, that's heading this down to that path where we may get to a point where, and maybe we're past the point, I don't know, where it's just not recoverable. There's enough people in the mainstream media where normally they wouldn't say shit about it or talking about the country splitting.
Right.
That, we're heading that way maybe.
Well, who was it the other day? They put in their papers to split. Was it New Hampshire? It was one of them. One of these East Coast states put in their paper to succeed from the United States, and I don't see that happening, at least not yet. But it's funny when you were talking about forming kids' brains. Interestingly enough, I read an article about what we were talking about earlier, bugs. Introducing cricket flour and mealworm flour to make bread and all this other bullshit. Now, listen. The bug thing is intriguing to a point, but as a survival aspect, not to sit there and go, I'm going to replace this fine steak with some mealworms. Yes, I'd rather have mealworms. It says no one ever, right? But I am intrigued with it on a survival aspect. But the article I read when they were talking about bugs and eating bugs, they stated that they're starting early with the kids, and this is in the article. They said if we train kids how to eat bugs now and deal with bugs and process them, that when they get older, it will be normal to them. And I'm like, motherfuckers, this is what they're doing with everything. I mean, listen, if they want to do that with feed kids bugs in school, whatever, that's the least of our fucking problems. But to admit that to get to a kid or to get to a person is at their childhood so that you can reshape their brain, I found very interesting part of the article. Um, again, they're going to do the same thing with the synthetic meat. I just read something today. It's called animal free meat. So at first I
An
thought it was
oxymoron.
right. At first I thought it was like that vegan bullshit, those fucking impossible burgers. I thought it was that. I said no. What animal free meat is meat that's grown in a lab from the cells of an animal. So it's not really the animal, it's its cells and makes it animal free. I'm like, we're going down this fucking path now. I mean, like, bad enough synthetic meat, which is it's all synthetic because even if you grow it in a test tube or you use a petri dish, if you will, you're still adding gunk to it to grow it. And there was some kind of accelerant they used to grow these meat.
Soylent Green.
Right. It's pretty much that. But I'm like, who the fuck are they going to get on board to eat this shit? I know I'm not eating this fake meat, animal free meat, synthetic meat, whatever you throw at us. I'm not eating that shit. So I mean, I guess I'm going to starve because.
Well, look what they're doing when you go into the supermarket, right? You have in the middle of the meat section, or at least on one side of it, is the fake not meat section, and they call it meat, and it's in the meat section. Right, they're trying to sell you on it. They're conditioning you to all this stuff. And what are they doing right now with it? They're raising the price on every. I mean, there's some places a pound of ground rounds like $8-9. Right. And so, hey, here's this other thing has meat in the name. Looks kind of like meat. That's a lot cheaper. Let's get that. Talk about forcing a transition right now.
Yeah, big time. And it kills me when they say what do they say? What is it called? Like vegan chicken. I'm like, there's no such thing. There's no such thing as fucking vegan chicken, Impossible Burger. It's called a patty, a mushroom patty, if you will, and chickpeas, filet. I mean, but don't sit there and tell me it's fucking beef and chicken or it's flavored with beef and chicken, and then it's like pissing on me and fucking telling me it's raining. I'm not going to buy it,
It's 2022's version of meatloaf from back in the 70s, right? Mom would like make meatloaf, and I'm like, oh, we're having meat. I didn't know it was mostly breadcrumbs.
Yes.
It was like, no, it was, and then you had cube steak. You didn't ever have steak, till later. And this is the same kind of shit that's happening right now.
Yeah, you're right.
There's a YouTube channel blowing up, and it's some like 93-year-old lady that cooks on there like she did back during the Great Depression. And it's all about Depression era cooking.
Yeah.
Well, it goes back to what you were saying earlier, how you were wrong about how the food shortages you thought it was going to be a lot worse. Maybe this is exactly what they intended to do is they create that sort of crisis or whatever. And then they bring this stuff out and start to, maybe this is the first step in that normalization process. You go after the kids, and then pretty soon you're shaping whatever it is into chicken nugget shapes. And the kids don't care. As long as it tastes good, they're going to chow down on it and normalize all of that crap. So, hey, real quick, I know it's kind of off topic, but John had put in the chat earlier when I was talking about how the United States was built on religion. I may have said that exactly like that, but that's not what I meant. What I meant was that religion found its way into a lot of the stuff that we do as Americans because the majority of them were Christians and all that. And those morals and all that stuff has been passed down generation to generation. And we've kind of lost that. That's what I meant by it. So you're absolutely right, John. And if I said it like that, I didn't mean to say it exactly like that. Anyway, I mean to disrail everything. I just wanted to mention that.
Fuck it. I mean, listen, we know what you meant when you said that. Some people you have to hold their hands and explain it to them. So I get it. It's fine. But it's strange, man. It's just the time we're in, and I guess our parents might have thought the same thing when they were going through the Cold War and the threat of a nuclear bomb was every fucking day of their life. Hide under the desk because that was going to save you. Make sure you hide behind a lead steel plate. Yeah, because I have one of those at home. And, they feed these people with all of this shit, and then nothing happened. And one side of me, a small side of me, seems to think, are we repeating the same shit? Like maybe we won't see a nuclear war, but Russia back then threatened all the time to fucking go nuclear with us, and then we never hit that point. And then here we are again, but the difference is, I think Putin's a little more angry, maybe because he's short and fat, and who knows? I mean, his cancer is fucking getting to his brain. Whatever it is, it seems a little more real. But in the back of my head, I'm like, maybe this is all posturing again. I mean, he's been threatening us for fucking a year or two straight now, and at least New York City's still here. I hate to jinx it, and then tonight, fucking 2 a.m, fucking the sun comes out. So
as a prepper, though, it's hard not to think like that because we all have that in the back of our mind. Hey, what if I'm overreacting? What if I'm, what if this is, what if I am one of those crazy people, like they say? But the second you let your guard down, there's always that thing in your back of your mind, like something's going to happen and I'm not going to be ready and it's going to be my freaking fault. And it's going to be worse than if I wasn't paying attention in the first place. So as preppers, we kind of have all that internal battle going on of, yes, it might be me overreacting, but I'm not willing to take that chance. And why not, be ready if it does.
Right. That is good. All right, guys. So real quick, we're going to continue the conversation. Obviously, we're probably not going to end it in 8 minutes. But whatever, we'll carry on. So anyway, guys, this is Dale and Brian from the Survival Preppers. Again, I know you guys are liking what they're saying, what they're hearing. Like I said, level-headed, not too fucking far off. And I would like for you guys to go over to their channel. I'll put the link in the in the chat section and in the description section at the end of the video, and go over to their channel and subscribe to it. You will not regret it. Also, guys, since we are at 1,000 people watching, do me a favor, hit the thumbs up or the thumbs down, whatever the fuck floats your boat. And yes, Brian is still frozen, but he can hear us.
Am I still frozen?
Yeah, you're still frozen.
Yeah. At least he's frozen with that shit-eating grin on his face. So.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. I thought I had like a shit face going on.
It's funny because then when we mention it, he moves again and then he freezes again.
Yeah.
Oh, well. So, all right. Moving right along. Do you guys have, because I was thinking about this today, most preppers don't have, or not most preppers, but a lot of preppers don't have a backup plan, right? A lot of preppers are going to ride it out at home, whatever the hell happens. Do you guys have a bug out plan, or are you guys going to ride it out at home? Whatever happens.
Do you want to take that one, Brian, or you want me to?
Well, I'll start, man. So I'm already. I got the hell out of the city, man. I was living out in Vegas when the pandemic came around.
Okay.
And I'm like, I just knew. I was like, about 5 blocks from where you were, it turned shitty, and I was like, I don't want to be 5 blocks away from shit if this place goes down. This was, we're talking about March of 2020. So I packed up, and ever since then, I've kind of been living. I live up in Michigan, up in northern Michigan, and I stay on a buddy's property. I have a fifth wheel trailer. I got all my shit in a storage unit and in another trailer. And I just got out of the cities. I think it's right now things are so. I mean, you live in the middle of the city. See, I grew up in Los Angeles.
Okay.
So I go home and I see Dad, and it's like, what the fuck is going on around here? You got people dropping $100 on lunch, sitting out in the street with trash everywhere, but they have some barricades because they can't sit inside. Because of Gavin Newsom in California. And then right around the corner will be someone taking a grumpy on the street. And they're acting like they don't know, they're acting like everything's great, oh, the world's great. And you just see the city falling apart. And I'm like, man, it's on a roll. I want to get the way out, get away from it and get out of the way of whatever's coming. So I move up here and I sit out in the woods and I have a peaceful existence. So I've already kind of gotten out of it.
Yeah, and I live in a rural area, and there are, just because I'm out here, I don't pretend to like nothing's going to happen, nothing's possible out here. I think that's kind of naive, But at the same time, I think there is, the more rural you are, the more advanced warning you have of some things, the things that are going on. So there is a little bit more leeway there. But at the same time, we used to own property down in southeastern Colorado. We ended up getting rid of that because I could never make it down there, and I wasn't about to put a bunch of shit down there and just go down there once a month and then have somebody live in there or have somebody ransack all of it. So we ended up getting rid of that. But that is part of the plans, is having some place that's, even if it's only 100 miles from here, someplace that's close enough where I can build it up. And it's also secluded away from everything, not in a neighborhood or anything like that. And it's got to be land that I own, because there's a bunch of places that, I can think about that are just around me that I could go and probably be okay. But at the same time, when you're in a situation like that, if you're on somebody's property, I forget who said it in our chat the other day, but you go onto somebody's private property in an SHTF situation, you'll be lucky you don't get shot. So, it's that same type of thing. So, yeah, I think you have to. We don't at this point, but it is something we thought about and something we are thinking about in the future. What about you? I mean, you're urban, so I'm sure you do, right?
Yeah, we have a couple of locations to get out. It just sucks, man, because we were looking, or at least I was looking to move by next month, but that fell through. So now we're looking at the end of the year. But now my son just got into a marine high school, so like he deals with marine life and things like that. And my wife's like, the school's going to be really good for him. I'm like, so I don't know. We were looking to move at the end of the year. Now I don't know what the fuck's up. So one side of me, I know this is bad, but I'm going to say it. One side of me is like hoping he doesn't like the school, and he's like, fuck that. I just want to get out of it. And then I'd be like, all right, now we're good. But there's one thing that will push us out of here very, very soon, and that's if by next week, if Eric Adams states that the kids need to be vaccinated before they go back to school. If he announces that, we're gone. But because here's the problem, and this goes back to what we were talking about, being paranoid and what if nothing happens, So now, one thing is, someone's like, put your kid first, and that's the thing. Do I leave and move somewhere, and then whatever we were running away from doesn't happen, and now my kid missed out on this chance, or do I let him experience this awesome chance, and then, take it, and hope that nothing happens? Because I would hate to leave and nothing happens and he missed out on this chance, but I would really, really, really fucking not want to fucking, get killed for staying in the city because he wanted to go to the school. So right now it's a marine biology school. Thank you, Randy. Right. It's a high school for marine biology. So that hopefully it will get him into a good career if he sticks with it, or whatever. Yeah.
That's something he's not going to let you live down. if it turns out that everything was fine and he missed out on an opportunity, that is that tough decision being a parent. But that's something that
the good side of it though is, man, you're on top of things. And I think that's what one of the side benefits of being a prepper is, right? You're watching what is happening. You don't have this 1 week or 2 week delay in figuring things out, or 8 month delay in Hunter buying a laptop kind of thing and figuring things out, where people start accepting that that's what's happening. So you're on the front line, and all your listeners and all your watchers are on the front line of having good information to make that decision. Like, hey, we need to go, and when it comes to the bugging out thing, I like to tell people, man, I think that the coronavirus showed that most people's best option could be to sit in their house. So fortify the hell out of your house.
Yeah.
Well,
listen, I mean, hopefully if nothing happens and he graduates from this, then I get the last laugh. But listen, I don't want to be that guy that there were, how many people, and I read the after stories on these, remember 2012, remember the end of the world? People were so fucking sure that the world was going to crack into, or a mysterious black hole was going to open up, and all of this crazy shit. And there were people who left their jobs in city because of this shit. And then nothing happened. And I remember one guy, when nothing happened, had to go move back to his home, had to find a new house, moved back to the city he came from, had to beg for his job back because he didn't have anything when he left. Right. So again, this is his future. My future is done. I mean, like, I'm retired. I'm fucking pretty much walking around the house anyway, eating fucking crackers and staring at the walls. But this is his chance to do something awesome with his life. And listen, in the field, I did not think he had it in him. I didn't think he could fucking get into school when he was applying for it. And then he got in. I was like, shit.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I know. And so to that, I'm proud of him for getting into that school because that's a fucking hard school. But the whole marine biology thing, that took me by surprise as well. So, again, this is one of those things where I told the wife, I said, yo, we don't fucking leave. We're never leaving. So one side of me is, again, selfishly thinking, hopefully Eric Adams says, listen, the kids need to take the shot to go back to school. and then I'll be like, all right.
Have your answer.
Yeah.
How long would it take you if shit went south? How long would it take you to get out of the city?
If there was no traffic on a prepper dream, probably 5 minutes, 5 to 10 to get out of the city. Because I live right next to the George Washington Bridge, and then I live next to 4 bridges that'll get me out of the city in under 10 to 15 minutes. If there is traffic, we get on the e-bikes and we fucking head out, and we're out in 10 to 15 minutes. So regardless, our exit strategy is good. Where we end up, I have 2 to 3 places that I can end up upstate, and we'll be good once we get there. We just got to hold our own. But that's, I think for us, that's the easy part.
What kind of range you get on those e-bikes?
Well, the one I'm looking to buy 3. She doesn't know about it yet, but the one that I'm buying has about 100-mile range off of one battery charge. So you figure 100 miles, let's say 80 to 85, because they always overshoot the mileage. Because what 100-mile means is that it's still moving, but not at the speed you want, but it's still kicking out the rest of that power, but it's just getting you there. So
that gives you some good separation from the city.
Oh, big time. And so the 2 places we have to go to are just under 100 miles. So even if it got us 80 miles out, we could still hack 20-mile walk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that definitely gets you ahead of the crowd.
Yeah, because then we don't have to deal with the car. The problem, the upside of the car is we'll have most of our shit in it. We would have to leave it behind and just take our bags. Yeah, that's the downside of it.
Well, at least
I think that's the
plan.
biggest thing in an urban area is that timing, that paying attention, that know what's going on and know now's the time to go. No dicking around. We got to get out now, because if you wait even just a couple minutes, I mean that could be the difference between traffic being on the highways and slowing you down and all of that stuff. So,
and you have to be willing to feel like a dumbass for loading up your shit and getting everybody motivated if it doesn't happen. But dude, you dealt a lot with EMS at the fire department. The number one killer of dudes that have heart attacks when they're in their 40s is them saying, everything will be fine. I'll wait till tomorrow to go. And then they fucking die.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. If you don't do it and it happens, then you're screwed.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah. You're right. So, and that's the problem, right? I mean, like, if we stay and something happens, I'm fucked. But if we stay and nothing happens, I make out at least, and so whatever. It's a shitty situation to be in for me, because I want out of this fucking city, like bad. So what we're doing now is we're going to be looking for an apartment, because I said we can't stay here. If we stay in this fucking city, we gotta at the very least move up into like the Bronx area, where it puts us on mainland and we don't have any bridges to contend with at the very least. So she's looking into that. She's open to that. But only, again, the downside to that is now my son has to travel further to school. I'm like, fuck him. He can fucking handle it. He'll be fine. As long as, we're outside of the city. Listen, I'm not happy about him going, him getting into the school, because shit still happens, man. I mean, like this kid today or over the weekend, fucking 15 years old, well, 13 maybe. No, sorry, 15, 16 years old, was breaking up a fight that he had nothing to do with. And a guy broke a bottle and stabbed him accidentally. The guy was trying to stab the dude that he was fighting with, but stabbed his kid, and the kid wound up bleeding out and dying. Then he had another 13-year-old yesterday just get beat up for no fucking reason because the guy felt like it.
Is that there in the city?
Yeah, it's in the city. So now I'm like, great. And I told her, I said, listen, he gets anything just one time, we're gone. And she's like, yeah, I agree. I'm like, but this is this is the age we're living in. We're living in an age where, you know, when I went to school, I don't think my parents were nervous when I went to school, but I grew up in the crack and cocaine era here in the fucking city, and the shit was bad. But my parents never once, at least they never told me they were worried about me. But now with my son, I gotta fucking, worry about him going to school, getting on the train, having somebody fuck with him.
Yeah.
Maybe they won't.
And it's crazy to look at how quick it's happened there, right? Like
Yes.
how quick it's gone downhill to where, you see the videos coming out of people riding the subways, the shit going, the just insanity going on down in the subway trains. And it's like, wow, that goes back to like that movie, The Warriors, and the shit out of the 1970s.
Yes.
Right. And it's like,
and here's a bigger problem with my son. He would help somebody who's in danger. And I have to tell him, I was like, you're not built like me. You can't do that, because he's way smaller than I am, and he's shorter than me, so he couldn't. I mean, listen, I would applaud him for doing it, but he's not going to listen to me. But I told him, listen, you can't help people like I do, but he's going to run off and help him anyway. So, again, these are stupid things you worry about when you're a parent in the city. But if I was a parent in Texas or whatever, I wouldn't fucking worry about him other than driving, maybe when he got a car. But
do you feel it when you go out walking around town?
Feel what?
Like just the change?
Yeah, man. You see it all. I see it every time I go outside. It's I go to CrossFit downtown. So it's around 36th Street. And listen, that area has always been bad, even since I was a kid. It got a little better, and then it just exploded. They fucking dropped all the crazies on one corner, and they're all hanging out there. And there's always a fight or a stabbing, always.
Wow.
And it's like, I miss those fights and stabbings by like minutes. And not saying I'm going to get involved in anything like that. It's none of my business. Two junkies are going at it because the last guy smoked his last fucking cigarette or crack rock or whatever. That's on them. But I see more of the bullshit now than I did in the 90s. I mean, don't get me wrong. In the 90s, kids were jumping kids. They were stealing their hats and sneakers, their 8-ball jackets. If those of you that remember that shit, that was a thing back in the days. And people were always getting robbed for that. But now, these kids will beat you up just because they feel like it. And just so that they can put it on TikTok. That's the worst thing. Social media influencing these kids to beat up other kids just because.
The fact that you have these problems, the fact that you're thinking about this stuff shows that you and your wife are doing a fantastic job being parents. And this is what we're talking about societal decay and all that. This is why that shit is happening, because there are parents out there that don't do the same shit as you, that don't stress about the crap that you do. They just let their kids go out and do whatever they want. And then it just creates all of these, and I'm not saying that's the whole problem, but that is part of the problem with a lot of the stuff we're seeing in society these days. So while you may be having problems with it, you're doing a damn good job. I mean, if you're not stressed, you're not doing your job right as a parent. So
that is true. I guess. I I would have not listened. If he was a bigger kid, I probably wouldn't worry so much. But he's not, and so like again, my son, my oldest son, for example, he's 23. He's a big fucking kid. He goes to the gym. I don't worry about him. If he's gonna kick somebody's ass, he's gonna get it done. And if he doesn't, at least he can take a couple hits. But this one, forget it. He takes a hit, and I think he's gonna crumble like origami. And he has a tough exterior. He just doesn't have the build. But that's
another reason you need to let him go to school.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, get your ass kicked a couple times and you'll be okay. But you know what? And yeah, we were talking about putting them, both my daughter too, in the martial arts, just or at least what is that called? MMA, because everybody's doing MMA now. But getting them into that. But anyway, enough of that bullshit.
Jiu-jitsu's a great jiu-jitsu's a great time, man. Really focuses people, teaches them a lot, man. A lot of good mental stuff.
They
Real
also
good trend.
in the city. Super.
What's that?
They're super expensive in the city.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, they go to town in your pockets, man. They're like, oh yeah, you want to upgrade your kid to what class? All right, that's going to be another $500. I'm like, what? You know, so I'm looking for something affordable that they can go to on the weekends when they go back to school. But guys, with that being said, I guess we can go off the air now. Is there anything else you want to tell the people who are watching about your channel?
Not really. Appreciate it. We do our live streams. We do them on Sunday nights and Wednesday nights at, I think, 7:00 Eastern time. Head over, join us, and check it out if you want. And we do some videos throughout the week. But I really appreciate being on your show, man. I've been a fan of your channel for a long time, and it was nice to get on here and meet you and talk to you and all that stuff. So appreciate it. So you got some knowledgeable people in the chat as well.
Yeah, you have a really good crowd, man.
Thank you. I think tonight they were a little tame. The other night, man, they were fucking out of control. Like, what the fuck? People on volume today. It was like it's kind of slow and like whatever. But listen, guys, I do appreciate both of you guys being on my channel today. Yes, tonight, guys, there will be no Angry Truth, but tomorrow morning there will be the Wednesday morning midweek report. So anyway, stay tuned for that tomorrow on the Angry Truth channel. As of tonight, there will be no Angry Truth. Guys, thank you for both of you to coming on and being on the channel. I do appreciate that because I got to learn, guys, that people when I've invited a few people on the channel, they would tell me no, and I know why they tell me no because I got a fucking mouth on me, so that's understandable. So when people do say yes, I do appreciate it, right? So again, guys, thank you for being on. Chat, thank you for being so tamed, like you guys were drugged tonight. And other than that, guys, I will see you guys Thursday. Yes, you're going to go to karate class. No. That was my daughter. No.